Winners are willing to do things that losers are not. Rashi explains that Moshe had to specifically request from Aharon not to be fearful, not to be intimidated, and to go ahead and to bring the sacrifices to serve in the Mishkan the way he was supposed to. Says Rashi, Shaya Aharon bush, V'yarela Gashes, Aharon was embarrassed and afraid to approach the Mishkan, the Mizbeach, to do what he was supposed to do. And therefore, Amar lo Moshe, Lama tabush, Lakach nevcharta, don't be embarrassed. Why are you afraid? This is why you were chosen. Interestingly, Rav Yitzchak Volozhiner points out that Aharon's humility, which is in general a wonderful quality, sometimes can have a downside to it. It can make a person fearful. Well, it's only me. Maybe I'm not appropriate to rise to greatness. Maybe I'm not appropriate to be the appropriate Kohen Gadol. Says Moshe to Aharon in this week's Parsha. Believe in yourself. This is what Hashem wants from you. Don't allow humility to anchor you in the ground and inhibit religious growth. You got to see yourself as great. All great people, once upon a time, dreamed of greatness. It can be coupled with humility. It should be coupled with humility. But you have to dream to be great. There's a very well-known story that the Avos Rabbi Nassim tells of Rabbi Akiva, that he went out to the brook, the babbling brook, after being intimidated and overwhelmed by how much Torah there was to learn in the Beis Medrash, and the Or Yisrael Flanter points out it was his first time ever going there. So after he left the Beis Medrash, after seeing the amount of Sfarim and Talmidei Chachamim, people who knew so much Torah, the amount of pages of Torah to learn, depressed and downtrodden, down-spirited, Rabbi Akiva went out to the river, to the babbling brook, to sit somewhat sadly, and he noticed a hole, a crevice, a cavity in a rock. And he was curious, how did this hole appear? The rock probably wasn't created with this cavity. What occurred over there? And he realized after some time, when a drop of water fell in the rock, it must be that slowly but surely over time, the water, drop by drop, penetrated, made its way into the rock. And Rabbi Akiva said, wow, a kal v'chomer, you want to know what? If water can do that to a rock, if water can break through a rock, well then Torah can certainly break through my heart. And if I learn letter after letter, word after word, pasuk after pasuk, Gemara after Gemara, ultimately I'll grow into something great and big as well. And many people point out all sorts of important lessons from this story. Some people point to Rabbi Akiva's ability to find incredible inspiration from a rock and water. People point out Rabbi Akiva's ability to stick with it once he set his mind to it, his incredible dedication and commitment. But I'd like to focus on another element, something additional that blows me away, that really impresses me about who Rabbi Akiva was. Not so much the water, not so much the rock, but after walking into the Beis Medrash and being overwhelmed by how many Sfarim there were and how many books on the shelves and how much Torah there was to learn, instead of just saying, well, maybe one day I'll get there, like probably most of us do, he sat down to cry. There's only one reason a person cries after a sight like that and an experience such as this. It's because he's fully convinced, I have to get there. I have to learn them all. I have to know them all. I have to accomplish. I have to achieve. And I just don't have any means. I have no way of doing it. I don't know the details. How's that going to happen? Rabbi Akiva, from a young age, saw himself as a person destined for greatness. And that was the trick to getting there. Rabbi Akiva's secret was not to settle for tier 2, not to settle for religious mediocrity, but to aspire for religious greatness. I once heard a great quote, I don't know who said it, where I heard it from, but it goes and says, winners are willing to do things that losers aren't. You have to see yourself as great and you have to be able to dedicate yourself to it. But it all boils down to seeing yourself in a certain way. I heard the name of Rav Volbe, and I haven't seen it inside, but I heard Rav Volbe's name, that it's sad when a person doesn't realize one's weakness, but it's even sadder when you don't realize your strength. And the point to pull out of this Rashi, as Rav Yitzchak Volozhiner points out, is that don't be afraid to aspire for religious greatness. Don't be afraid to see yourself as a superstar. Don't be afraid to set high goals and work incredibly hard to get there, because again, winners are willing to do that. Winners are willing to do things that losers are not. Have a great Shabbos.